Hey guys, it's me, Nicole here, and I am joined by Idiot Extraordinaire, which I have to say, I love that username. Like, if you were to describe Santana, that's like, I feel it would be fitting. So, how have you been doing? Like, how have you been keeping yourself safe and sane?
Yeah, my quarantine experience has been like super insane. I flew during quarantine. I've been based in Asia for the last like year and a half, and when COVID happened, I was like, I don't know how well we're gonna handle this.
Mm-hmm.
And so about a month, I think it's a month now, a month ago, I flew back to New Zealand where I grew up, and so I'm back now. I did 2 weeks in like the quarantine hotels
Oh,
and stuff.
wow.
So yeah, I'm back. And then we've been working from home since March.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of got permission. I was like, can I just keep working from home? Like I'll keep my hours, but can I just do it from there? I'm not going to the office anyway.
I hate that you had to travel, but it's sort of like, I'm glad you've been able to keep yourself tucked away and safe.
Yeah, I'm super grateful. I was like, the travel and stuff, it'll be worth it when like I can go home and be like safe and
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
although they had to re-lock down like shortly, like while I was in quarantine, there were like a couple new cases and they were like, oh, we gotta lock down again for like 2 weeks.
Wow. So how did you get into Glee and Brittana?
Yeah, so this is going to turn into a very like long-winded explanation, so I apologize.
No, long-winded is cool.
I was aware of Glee when it was airing in like season like 1 or 2. I had like friends who were watching it, but like I wasn't really following it or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then around, I want to say like late 2014, I became like a really big fan of Harry Shum Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing at the time that he was doing was Glee.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, like let's see what he's done on the show. And I, very quickly found out that he was given very little to do.
Yeah.
I was like on board with like a lot of the music and
Mm-hmm.
like the numbers and stuff, and I mainly watched it through like YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you go, however the YouTube algorithm works, slowly I started getting recommended these like best of videos.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that came up first were like best of like Brittany in season 2, or like Santana's like funniest moments.
Yes.
And I was like, oh shit. So I was like, oh, like these two are funny. Like what's the deal with this? And then I kind of didn't, weirdly enough, like I was, from that point I wasn't like, let's go watch it. I was like, oh, let me like look up on the like wiki what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just look at what episodes were there like active, cause this show has like this massive cast of characters and actors. Basically it was like through that, I think around that time was when season 6 had started airing, and of course you had like the proposal, and like what the world needs now, and they're blowing up to the wedding and everything. And then I think in between those things I was like, oh, let me look on like fanfic. That's when I kind of fell down the rabbit hole. Because like the fandom is so talented. Like I'd been involved in like other fandoms before, and like there are good like writers and stuff, but I just feel like the like Brittana fandom, actually like the Glee fandom in general, like so like there are so many talented like authors and artists and just like people who do the like incorrect quotes and stuff.
Oh my gosh, I love those. I also love like the social media AUs. Like you see them on Instagram a lot. So talented.
Yes. Those are so good. I love the fact that they always find a way to like shade Rachel
in the comments.
Yeah.
I just want to take a moment to say this. Like I've mentioned this before, like 2020 has like, it's like the Glee Renaissance. I'm so like I feel warm and fuzzy about it all, especially when I see posts from like 14, 15, 16-year-olds like on Instagram in the tags, and it's like they're just finding this interview or this photo shoot, or they're just barely watching the Glee movie, and they're barely discovering things that we've sort of known about for a while, and it's just they're just bubbling with like such excitement and giddiness to like consume all that this universe has, and it warms my heart. I love it, and I love all these new memes they just come up with. I'm just honestly like, your mind's beautiful.
There's so many like Brittana like Instagram accounts,
mm-hmm.
and like they're so good. Like all the edits that they come up with.
Yeah, brilliant. I wish I could do that.
I really wish I could draw like fan art, but like I can't draw for shit. So.
Yeah, I wish I could draw Brittana, because I would just draw them for all of my fics. But I'm sure there's people who can draw and they're like, I wish I could write or something like that. So
yeah.
So you got into it you got into Glee and Brittana sort of as it was coming to an end, right?
Yeah, like towards like around the time that like season 6 was
mm-hmm.
airing. So I think I experienced a lot of like what a lot of like the fandom felt like retroactively.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think I got spoiled. Like season 6 Brittana, and then I would like try go back and watch, and I'm like, what is this like? What is season 4? Like I don't understand what they're doing. I think I'm glad that I caught it towards the end
mm-hmm.
when it was kind of already complete, because with other shows that I've followed, when I get unhappy, like I'll just I have a tendency to just like drop off.
Mm-hmm.
So like I think if I had watched Glee as it came out, I don't think I would have made it to the end.
Honestly, like there's a lot of like OG fans who they dipped out and they didn't make it to the end either. It would be understandable. But you mentioned fanfic and how that's sort of how you went down the rabbit hole, and I feel like that's sort of the same for me. It's like I watched Glee and I did like really enjoy Brittana, and Santana was my girl. But I felt like when I got into Brittana fanfic, that's what really made me fall in love with the ship. It's the way the fanfic writers explored them and got into like their dynamic. So I feel like I fell in love with them in fanfic, and that's why I go so hard for them like on the show. If that makes sense? I don't know.
I think just, clearly towards maybe like the halfway point of Glee, it was obvious that there were certain characters that were getting bigger pushes than others, and and because of that, Brittana kind of fell a little bit to the wayside. All you had really at the time was like fanfic.
So, speaking of fanfic, you told me you're sort of new to Brittana fanfic.
I mean, like, I've been reading it for like 4 or 5 years, but
wow.
I've always like had ideas that I'm like, I think this would be like a good story.
Mm-hmm.
But then like if I put it down and actually like write it, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. This is so much work. I don't know what to do. And like I wrote for other fandoms. I started writing like fanfic when I was like really young. When I was like 11 or 12, and it was like deeply terrible, and I have since scrubbed it off the face of the earth because everything was just wrong with those fics.
Mm-hmm.
There was like plot holes and spelling errors, and everything was just wrong. So I deleted it like not that long ago. But with Brittana, I think maybe part of the reason I also didn't write is because there was so much to consume. Because I think Glee was like the number one,
mm-hmm.
like the TV fandom with like the most fics for like a good long while. I think now it's still like number 2.
On fanfiction.net, it was the TV show with the most amount of fanfics for like several years. I just want to say maybe up until 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Who eventually beat it out? Supernatural? I don't know. Yeah, I think it's still we're still number 2.
Yeah, it's just like insane when you consider Supernatural has like, I don't know, like 13 or 14 like seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And Glee had 6.
Wow. Yeah. That's interesting when you put it like that. I'm like, wow. You said you've been reading it for several years. Can I ask, like, what stories appealed to you? Like, were you, like, did you love the humor? Did you love angst? Like, what did you love to read?
I mean, I like a lot of stuff. I think the humor is good. It's always
mm-hmm.
is good, especially like when, it's a bad day and I just want to escape and, laugh and watch these, like, idiots, like, not realize that they're in love with each other. Like, that's always good. I can do angst, like, to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think you brought up, like, rhythms before in one of your previous episodes. I love that fic.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, that's the most angsty, like, I can go. Like, nobody can, like, die or get abused or... like, I can't read that.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah.
I think one of the first fics that I kind of, like, fell in love with was, like, That Awkward Moment.
Oh, yes.
The combination of, like, the humor and, like, the romance aspect, and then, like, Brittany's, like, family and that whole dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh man, this is so good. This is so good.
Yes, and Lawyer Santana, that just does something to me.
Yeah, I love Lawyer Santana. It's so good.
So, as far as your writing, I went and I read a few of yours, and they're just, like, the sweetest, most wholesome little... They're like, I don't know how to describe it. They're just like these little delicious nuggets that I just want to keep consuming because they're so wholesome.
Thank you. That means a lot. I'm a really big fan of your work, so that means a lot.
But it's just, there's a certain genre of Brittana fanfic where it's just like, I just want to like consume it because it makes me feel so warm inside. And yours is one of them.
I think kind of one of the things that made me just kind of pull the trigger and be like, just write something and, and just put it out was really like when Naya passed away.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of in a bad spot for time surrounding that, and a part of, like, I was just so grateful to what she gave the fandom and like so many people. And I've been reading fanfic for a long time. I've been reading fanfic through like moving and like college and like and like starting jobs that I didn't like, and all that sort of stuff. So it was always kind of a comfort for me, and I kind of just wanted to just put something out and be able to do that for someone else. Like if they could just read it and like laugh or like smile for like a little bit, then for me, I'm like, then I did my job.
No, that is really beautiful, and honestly, like, that is what it's all about, and I'm so glad. I mean, I don't know if that's the word to use, but I'm glad you channeled your pain and you put it into something that could potentially, help somebody get through their day. And it's the people like you who sit down at the computer and put these stories out there. That's how we keep Santana alive. And by keeping Santana alive, that's how we remember Naya and her talent and everything she put into her characterization. But yeah, I absolutely feel you, because I sort of got into this really boring rut. I feel like I was sort of deteriorating, like, as a writer, and it's still so hard for me to put something out there. But, when Naya happened, I was just like, I gotta put all my other stuff aside. Even if it takes me the rest of my life, I gotta finish the things that I've started, because I feel like in a very small way it honors her.
Yeah, I definitely I get that.
Yeah. Like, these stories we tell each other on the internet through fanfic, they help ourselves, but I feel like they help others. So, has telling, like, these stories helped you in any way?
I don't know if it's ever helped me on like a deep level. I guess a part of it was just trying to like channel my grief.
Mm-hmm.
Another part of it was I've kind of toyed with like the idea of like, should I like pursue like writing like as a career at any point? Cause I was a business major. So I was like, should I try it? And I was like, for a part of it was like, oh, for nothing else, like, maybe someone will get like some enjoyment out of this, and like maybe it'll help me like improve from a skills perspective. I'm still working on it. I still like publish stuff that I'm like I don't think that's like quite like there yet, but I'm like, if I don't publish it now, like I probably won't. It'll just like sit on my computer for like 6 months. And
but I think that's sort of how you begin, because like it's like a process. I wrote really embarrassing stuff when I was like 12 and 13 years old myself. I'm glad none of it's on the internet. But I feel like all those stories, those horrible stories that I wrote, like they're important because they were a part of my sort of learning process. So I think,
Yeah, I definitely get
yeah.
that.
So I think like even though you have like stories or bits that you're publishing and they sort of make you wince in areas because you're writing them, you're in the future, they're gonna help you grow. So I read some of your fic, and I feel like it's very, like I said, wholesome, and I feel like it's really focused on family dynamics. I feel like you're really sort of tackling and focusing on that, but is there a story you're holding off on writing? Is there an idea that's been knocking around in your head that you've yet to put down?
Yeah, there's a couple, and I've kind of written the general idea, but it's like nowhere close to like being a fic that can be published. But there's like two. The first one is kind of like a superhero slash like vigilante AU, where basically, if you think of like Lima as basically kind of being like Gotham City, sort of, and basically Santana comes back after like having been away for like a few years, and she comes back as this like vigilante, kind of like trying to take down these like criminal organizations. But she has like her alter ego as like Santana, where she has to like interact with like her at like work and with family. Basically, as her alter ego, she runs into another sort of like vigilante character who has been around but been kind of dormant for a while. And the two of them, they have words for each other, and they maybe they don't necessarily approve of the other's methods and all that sort of stuff. And that vigilante is Brittany. But wait, there's more. Brittany and Santana meet like as themselves, and they start dating, and they start falling in love, and you just have that dynamic of kind of being in love with this person, but like your alter egos are constantly on the outs with each other.
Oh my god, I love it.
And I just had these ideas, like kind of playing with the like the superhero tropes a little bit, but like twisting them on their head, where like they'll be on a date and then, you know, something will happen, like an explosion will go off, and Santa's like, oh, I gotta go, and she just has to make up an excuse to be there, and when she gets there, like, Brittany's there as her, like, vigilante, like, counterpart, and she's just like, how does this girl keep beating me here?
I love it. Like, there's a lot of superhero fics, but that has, like, a really specific, unique spin on it.
I think part of it is because I'm a huge superhero, like, fan, and around the time that I was getting into Glee, I was watching, Arrow on, like, the CW, which is, like, the Batman-y version of, like, Green Arrow, and he, like, you know, hops around on, like, rooftops and, like, chases down criminals and stuff. I've since stopped watching that show because, like, it got bad, but I think the combination of, like, being into that show at the time that I was, like, getting into Glee, I think it kind of all just, like, melded together, and I was like, you know, it'd be a really fun idea.
I love it. So, what's your favorite version of Brittany and Santana? Like, that you've written?
I don't know if I've written, like, enough to make that call. What did I call it? I call it, like, the pancake verse, because I don't know how to, like, name things. Where it's very, like, sweet and, like, soft, and, like, Brittana as moms. And after having gone through, like, all the stuff of Glee. And then Week Could Happen is interesting. It's fun. I think I get to play more with the characters in that verse. So I love them both, but I don't know if I've written, like, enough on either side to make a definite call on which ones I like.
So my next question is there a character you were most surprised to end up writing? Like, I covered this with Riz in one of my previous episodes, is like, when I wrote You Instead, Sam has never been, like, a majorly important character to me, but throughout writing that story, I feel like when you write a character, you, in essence, get to spend time with them, And the more you spend time with them, you form an affection for them. So by the end of that story, I had formed an affection with Sam as a character. So then when I would watch the actual show, I would have like, I'd be like, oh, Sam, because of my experience writing him. Have you had any kind of experience like that?
I don't know if I've had that much experience with it, just because most of what I write is like just Brittana. I did write Sam. Sam's been in like one chapter in my AU fic, and I did enjoy writing him there just because I was like, I just need like a friend character for Santana who's a bit of like a dumb like little brother, like knows how to get under her skin type of character. Like in a harmless way.
like he's a Labrador, very easily excitable but a little dopey.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, Sam, could you not? But like really, like she, they're friends.
So on the flip side of that, is there a character you want to write in the future? Is there a character you're like, you know what, I want to use so and so one day when I make this story or that story? Is there a character you're like, you want to experiment with, I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
For some like AU stuff, and even for my like Pancake verse, which is kind of like post-canon, I've been eyeing like writing Mike. Harry Shum Jr. is basically like the reason that like I started like even following Glee and like knowing who Brittana is. He gets like a couple mentions in that like post-canon verse, but he hasn't appeared yet, but I have like a few roles for him and some like AU ideas that I have that I'm like, I think this could be like.
I love how Mike is, whether it's an AU or in a future fic, Mike is usually like just really good buddies with Brittany. I love that for some reason. It's so sweet and wholesome, and I feel like he would be Brittany's bro. On the flip side, it's very, very seldomly explored, but I like the idea that Santana and Mike have always had this understanding, and like there's always been a trust level between Mike and Santana where Santana never has to question Mike's motives or Mike's attitudes towards Brittany.
I can get on board. I definitely am on board with that. I'm actually still, this is all a tangent, I'm still salty that on the show You Should Be Dancing wasn't a duet between Brittany and Mike. I'm still upset about that.
Yes. It should have been their song.
Like, they were both seniors, they were both, like, the dancers of, like, Glee Club. Come on, you can count on, like, two hands, like, the number of songs you can hear Mike singing, and, like, just...
I'm not a huge fan of Darren's voice, but I'm okay with him on that song. It's a fun song, but I really do feel like that should have been Mike and Brittany's moment, for sure.
The first time I heard that song, like, with like very little Glee context, I was like, oh yeah, that's fine. And then like with more context, I was like, no, this should have been just like Brittany and Mike. What is...
But yeah, Mike should have had so many more solos.
I agree. I agree so much. He should have had like more storylines. I think he had like 2 storylines in the whole show.
I mean, since you're a Harry fan and you have an appreciation for Mike, for all the main characters, they have like one solo that's sort of like character defining. Like Santana has Valerie, Rachel has Don't Rain on My Parade. Like if you could choose a song from Mike that he could have performed on the show that was just sort of character defining for him, like is there anything that comes to mind?
The one off the top of my head is that I think like in season 3 when he was having issues with his dad, he should have sang Perfect by Simple Plan. Basically it's just the song about how feeling like did I grow up according to plan? Do you think I'm just wasting my time, doing what I want to do instead of, doing, abiding by whatever like plan you had for me? I think that would have been a good song for him.
I know we're going off on tangents. I will get back to the questions I have, but since we're on this Mike tangent, I want to ask, were there any Mike ships that you really liked, or were you not invested enough in any of them? Crack ships included.
I mean, I think he was cute with Tina, but they also just like did something to Tina after season 3.
Yeah.
in my head, I always thought that like Mike and Quinn would have been good together.
Yes.
And in my pancake verse, I had canon that I just wrote in that like sometime after high school, after Glee, they ended up together, and they like live like nearish, like where Brittana lives, and Mike and Brittany are like in business.
Yes. I read a handful of fics that have Quinn and Mike. It just works. They just look,
right?
They would look so good together. Plus, I feel they're both very cerebral. I don't know if that's the word. Quinn is very thinky, and
I agree.
I don't think she would ever end up with a character like Puck, because Puck as a character, I'm not saying he's dim-witted. I just don't think he could challenge Quinn in the ways Quinn would need to be challenged, like, intellectually.
Yeah, that relationship ended, like, immediately. Mike would have treated Quinn, like, so good.
Mm-hmm.
One of the many wasted opportunities would have been in season 3 where when Mike is on the outs with his dad.
Mm-hmm.
You know who else was on the outs with their parents?
Mm-hmm.
Quinn. Like, and for them just to kind of talk, for him just have, like, someone to talk to about what that's like and what he's going through, and someone who can understand. Actually, also kind of missed out, like, after Santana got, like, disowned by her grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
Like, seems like a pretty good, like, chance to explore that friendship with Quinn or with Mike, who were both, you know, on the outs with family members.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's such a shame because post Glee, like, Harry has blown up and he's found such success, and it's a shame that, you know, during his Glee days, those showrunners didn't see him as leading man material, and they didn't trust that he could, like, carry good, meaty storylines. I don't know where this Mike tangent came from, but Mike Chang deserved better.
Agree, 100%.
When asked, are you embarrassed or enthusiastic to tell people that you write fanfic?
Nobody knows. I don't tell anybody that. Part of my life is very, like, separate from everything else.
No, I get that. I get the need to separate, like, fandom life and real life, because, like, it could get weird, you know? Especially if you're, like, a professional and you have to appear a certain way in your field. It might seem like a really dorky hobby. People still have a lot of, like, preconceived notions about, like, fanfic writers being, you know, dorky.
The only person who knows that I like read it sometimes is my sister. Because she's like, my sister's like kind of like my number one, like, can tell anything and she'll like pretty much get it. Writing it is still like a little bit, I think, different from consuming, so. It still feels... There's still that stigma.
Yeah, it still feels like a little dirty, nerdy secret. So, favorite genre to write?
I like writing fluff. I think most of the time just because, like, I don't know, especially, you know, 2020 has been a dumpster fire of a year. It's like, I just need, like, something that's, like, happy and sweet. Personally, I find it harder to, like, mess up fluff than, like, I feel like I'm always, like, not sure if I should write angst, because I'm like, is this gonna come off, like, very contrived?
What, if anything, do you do for inspiration?
Shower. Yeah, like, I'll go take a shower, especially, like, I'm in New Zealand, it's the southern hemisphere, so it's, like, it's coming out of winter now, but it's still, like, kind of cold. Like, if you just taking, like, a warm shower, and I'm just, like, all these scenarios are just, like, playing out in my head.
Like, when I was really, really, really producing things, I used to get the best ideas and the bits of dialogue when I was in the shower. I don't know what it is.
I don't know, maybe it's like when people sing in the shower. It's like, there's something about just like being there. It's very conducive.
What are your weaknesses as an author?
I can't describe motion for shit.
Oh, dude, me neither.
It's like one of the reasons I've been putting off writing that like vigilante fic, superhero kind of stuff. For me, it's such like a visual medium, even if you think about where it started as like comic books.
Mm-hmm.
And like having to describe like what all the characters are like doing and how they're fighting, like I'm like, oh my god, I think I would have like I think my brain would just melt.
I feel like I'm the same way. It's like writing really flowery descriptions of things I'm not good at. I'm really good at dialogue, but yeah.
Your dialogue is good. It's so good.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Literally, I mostly just write fluff, and even then, like the character I'll be like, what? I'm like, this character is doing this thing with their arm. What do you call that?
So what do you think your strengths are as an author?
I like to think my dialogue is good. I like to think I can write funny. But I don't know for sure. I think that's one of the benefits of fanfiction is that you don't have to like describe in a lot of depth. Like we all know what the characters look like. We all kind of, if you're setting it like in canon, like we all kind of know what like McKinley and like what the Loft and all those places look like. So you don't have to go into too much depth. So, which is not to shade anyone who likes to go into a lot of depth with describing things.
So, are there any obscure life experiences that you feel have helped your writing?
I don't think so. But I think in my life, I just know people who have like interesting stories. Mm-hmm. Basically, like the entire concept of like my latest like multi-chap ongoing is basically based on like a thing that my friend did when we were in high school. We grew up in like the suburbs, and people have like pet cats who I guess just like wander about through the day. Like they just slide under fences and stuff like that. And her neighbor's cat kept coming to her house. She started to feed it, and so it kept coming back to be fed. And her parents ended up also feeding the cat, and like their whole family is very fond of that cat. And basically, that cat ended up getting really fat because I think there was a point she was telling me her family was feeding it like 3 times a day, and like I don't know what the owner was doing, but like it ended up getting really fat, and I was like, surely they must be like wondering what was happening. And that is basically the inspiration of my fic, in where Quinn has to go overseas for work, so she leaves her cat in Santana's care. And, like, Santana's, like, at work all day, so, like, the cat just, like, wanders around, like, the neighborhood. And it starts, like, gaining a lot of weight. And basically, Santana is like, okay, like, I'm gonna find out, like, what is happening to this cat. And basically she finds out that her neighbor has been feeding it, and her neighbor is Brittany.
Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Like that, so I think I just know people who are more interesting than me, so.
Have you ever become an expert on something you previously knew nothing about in order to better a scene or a story?
Actually, I don't think so. I'm not a big fan of, like, having to research a lot, which might be why I write so much fluff, because I don't really have to know anything.
What's the weirdest AU you've ever come up with?
With a lot of my, like, idea for fics, especially because a lot of them are AU, I'm like, can somebody please just, like, write this so I can read it?
Yes. Yes. What is your favorite fanfic trope?
I kind of like the rivals to, like, friends to lovers. That's always fun. I have, like, a special place in my heart for, like, mutual pining, where, like, they're both, like, in love, and they're like, oh, but, like, the other person doesn't like me.
Yeah. How do you feel about, like, nerd Santana?
I've never, like, really been able to, like, get into it. Like, I think unpopular Santana and nerd Santana are, like, very similar but still different. Where, like, you can be kind of like an outcast, but, like, not nerdy. I don't know. I think it's maybe just, like, I can't imagine her, like, being, like, you know, like, very nerdy. Like, I can imagine her having, like, secretly, like, Canon Santana having, like, secret, like, nerdy or, like, dorky hobbies, but, like, fully, like, nerd Santana, like, I don't know if I can do.
Yeah, me neither. And, like, I'm sure they're great stories, but I just can't get into that for some reason.
Maybe it's like maybe just the look. Like Naya's look is so like not nerdy.
Yeah.
That
Like,
it's like hard to imagine.
like even in a sweatshirt and plain jeans, it's just like, whoa, gorgeous, sultry. And so my brain cannot compute nerd dork Santana. What fanfic trope do you wish would go away?
I'm not into the like student teacher thing. Although I'm clearly like the minority on that because it's been done in like every single medium like ever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never wanted to like do any of my teachers, so maybe that's why I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either, but yeah.
Also, like I guess like cheating and Brittana like don't go together, so just like nah.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do it.
I was talking to Giraffes Eat Trees, which is Emily, in a previous episode, and she said that she couldn't even read fanfic in which they're cheating with each other. Do you feel that way too?
I don't, maybe not as much, just because like it happened on the show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of like I can kind of buy this, and also like I don't know, like people can change.
Yeah, but no, I feel you on the whole cheating on each other. I can't do that. Like, I don't believe that would ever occur in any universe. It just would not feel, it just wouldn't seem true to who they are.
Santana made like eye contact with another girl, and she was like, I can't do that.
Yeah. She broke down crying in front of Brittany. She's too sensitive for that. She could not. So what's your favorite fanfic AU scenario or setting?
I mean, Lawyer Santana is so good. It's I don't want to say it's an easy slam dunk, but for me, like, you've won like half the battle.
I think the reason Lawyer Santana is so popular is because readers just like to picture Santana in like a powerful like skirt suit combo thing, and yeah, it works.
I think also because like Lawyer Santana was like one of my first like fics that got me sunk into it was like that awkward moment, and like that's Lawyer Santana, and I'm just like, I think from that point on, I'm just like, yup.
Speaking of that fic, I think that fic Santana is very sort of confident and even a little smug, and I love reading that kind of Santana, and I like writing that kind of Santana. What kind of Santana do you like to read or write? I mentioned this before. There's so many different flavors of Santana. So how do you envision her? Like, what do you like to read and what do you like to write?
I mean, I think when it comes to reading, I can do a lot of, like, I'm not too particular. Like, there's a lot of versions of Santana that I like and that I can read. So I've never been, like, too particular that has to be, like, a certain way. I think maybe that's also because I kind of fell in love with, like, the characters through fanfic. And because there's, like, so many versions, it's not that I kind of watch the show and I'm like, okay, so Santana's like this. And that's, like, kind of my preference. I think the way I write her, at least in my AU, is that she's, like, pretty, like, confident and a little bit, like, smug, but when it comes to Brittany, she gets, like, nervous and she gets, you know, a little bit, like, awkward. And maybe that's just because, like, I kind of relate to that. Where it's like, if it's someone that you're just, like, mad or, like, someone that you don't really, like, care about, you're just like, yeah, whatever, like, it is what it is. But, like, if it's somebody you like, you're like, I'm tripping over words and, like, overthinking. So maybe that's why I like to write her a little bit like that. But but not, like, completely, like, insecure and sensitive with, like, everybody. I mean, I like a lot of different, like, confident Santana, like, very confident, smug Santana, and then there's, like, confident Santana who is, like, harboring, like, you know, like, insecurities that, like, she doesn't want to, like, talk about. Like, I'm also on board with that.
So my next question is, would you or have you ever written an unhappy ending?
No, I can't do it.
I don't know how people do it, though, because I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I know I've read some that end in, like, heartache And I'm just like, how do you do that? I can't. I'm too sensitive.
Yeah, I can't do it either. I'm like, no, I like these characters. They're supposed to be happy.
Mm-hmm. If you could own one authentic item from your favorite fandom world, what would it be?
This is kind of weird, but like, I kind of, if, at least from like the Glee side, or the Glee Brittana side, I kind of want to see like a full script of like a Brittana-centric episode, just because like I don't think there's any available. I think the only one that you can get online is like the pilot.
Yeah.
Which is very different from what ended up airing. So maybe like like a script, maybe from like the 100th episode, or like one of the like 3 Brittana-centric season 6 episodes. Like, I think that would be really cool to have, like, just to see. Because I think there are some, like, some shows have just, like, random it's mostly pilots, but, like, random episodes, like, available. But I don't think Glee has any that I've seen. Or at least not available for free. So
yeah. Okay, what is the strangest thing you've done to honor your favorite fandom, ship, or character?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever done anything. This is like not Glee related, but I'm like a big Pokemon fan. Like I grew up with it, and like if you've seen my like old username on the Discord, it was like Sleepy Snorlax. So like Snorlax is my favorite Pokemon. So I have like a small collection of Snorlax like stuff. Toys.
That's cute.
Yeah. I would really like the life-size ones, the ones that are like 1 meter 65 cm. But I would have like nowhere to put it. I live, especially like now that I live at home. My parents are like, "How much money did you spend on this?"
Oh man, I've been seeing like a lot of Naya tattoos and some Santana portrait tattoos happening, like in the past month or two, and like some of them, it's like I see it on Instagram and I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's some really good ink. Like they spent money on that, because I mean, some tattoos you can give somebody like $50-$80 and they'll spit something out, but it won't be like incredible art. But, like, the ones that I'm seeing, you can tell, like, they spent money on those tattoos.
I think I've seen a few of those, like, on Instagram. I've had friends ask me before, like, would you ever get a tattoo? And I'm like, I don't know what I would get. Like, I'm not opposed to getting one, I just don't know what I would get.
So, my next question is, are you what George R.R. Martin would call an architect or a gardener? How much do you plan in advance versus letting the story unfold as you go?
Okay, I think before I would have been like full gardener. I'd be like, let's just write and see what happens. But that has led to a lot of like long non-postings and eventual like just dropping it, because I'm like, I don't even know what happens. Like,
yeah. So
now I think I have like the barest of like floor plans that I'm like, this is kind of where this is gonna go, and these things have to happen, but I leave a lot of room for like gardening, I guess, and being able to just like write as I go along, or if I feel like something needs to be changed, I'll just be like, okay, I think I can move this, or I can redo this bit.
So I came across a Tumblr post not too long ago. I'm going to quote it here, and this is what it says. My favorite thing is how some authors have specific dialogue tags they like to use, like, he excelled, or whatever, and sometimes they use one more often than the others, and it kind of reminds me of a fingerprint. No other author could exactly emulate the thoughtless habits of other authors. It feels so nice to notice the little unique things that you do that make your writing all your own. That maybe it doesn't need your name plastered all over it to communicate that it belongs to you and came from you. So, with this in mind, do you think you have a fingerprint?
Specific lines in, like, some of my fic that is just taken from, like, things that happened either to me or, like, the people I know in real life. And, like, if you say, like, if my friend were to, like, read the, like, We Could Happen, like, she would know who it's based off of, but But like, if anyone else were to read it, like, they would have no idea. I think that a person who like doesn't know any of those people, doesn't know any of those stories, like, wouldn't be able to tell. It's almost like little like fast tangents in my writing.
And maybe as you progress further, your fingerprint will like reveal itself to you.
Yeah.
So that's sort of it. Anything else you'd like to say, like, to the fandom during this time?
I guess just like everybody, like, stay safe, stay sane. It's been a hard year for I think everybody in the last like couple months especially. So hop on the Discord if you're ever feeling like lonely or you want like a good laugh.
Yeah, and where can we find you?
Yeah, so I'm just Idiot Extraordinaire on Tumblr, on fanfic, and on AO3. Also on the Discord. My Tumblr is like not very active, but like if I update like a story, you'll probably see it there.
Everybody go and read Idiot Extraordinaire, and give them some love. And like, from what I've read, you guys, again, it is super sweet and super wholesome, and it's like the perfect palate cleanser, because my days are hard, and like at the end of it, when I curl up in bed, I don't want angst. I want something that's just gonna make me feel warm and gooey inside. And so go read Idiot Extraordinaire and like leave them some love, for real. So,
this was fun.
Yeah, thank you for coming on and answering my dumb questions. This was
no worries,
really
no
fun.
worries. It was my pleasure. It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. So you guys stay safe. Go register to vote. I don't
I'm
know.
not in the US, but everyone vote if you're eligible.
Bye.
Bye.